Wisconsin, I had 3 people who knew who you were.
Do I want money?
No, the Laurencia Benzena case.
I've heard of her.
Yes. So that's where you would recognize his name. And didn't you run for some public office too?
Yeah, I ran for lieutenant governor in 2012. I didn't put any money into it, and I got 165,000 votes.
Wow.
That's impressive.
They must have pushed the wrong button by mistake or something.
So we're part of National Association to Stop Guardianship Abuse, and we have some information up there. It's a special charity to me because I actually had a family member that a very terrible thing happened. And we have ongoing litigation over the whole situation, and we have a great attorney here in Wisconsin that's working with us. And unfortunately, he's in Florida, so he couldn't be here. But
You must be charging too much.
and he's actually doing it pro bono, so that's super awesome. And we're going to have you do a presentation on some of our topics that everyone wants to know about, and then we're going to open up to questions.
Questions, yeah.
All right.
That'll be great. So
right.
I'm just going to go over here then, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we've got Darla videos.
Let me turn this off just in case. I've got all these people that keep. That's what I
Grab
do.
my phone and take
So many
pictures.
people that need help.
That was a maple bacon buttercream donut.
Oh, she's leaving that in the video.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. As was mentioned, I'm Ira Robbins. Pardon me?
Speak up so everyone can hear you.
Should get closer.
Oh, actually, no. Go back there and speak up so the back can hear you.
Okay.
I can hear you. I have a microphone.
Are we ready now?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Hi again. I'm Ira Robbins. I'm an investigative consultant. I've been a police officer 14 and a half years. Didn't like the way I was treated or the way people were being treated. Sued them and won a lot of money in 1981. I left there. Spent 17 years as a private investigator and have been a consultant for 20 years. And my partners and I have one partner that's another investigator. He's marvelous. He's an expert in forensics, use of force, tactical, and crime scene and underwater recovery. And we work well together. We go after cases of injustice and things that are wrong. I'll just give you a real quick little synopsis about me. I don't like injustice. I hate injustice, and I hate to see senior citizens being abused. And to be guardianized, but you don't have to be a senior. And what happens is, my partner and I go after cases where people are complaining that they were victims of murder, or a family member was a victim of murder, and the police have classified it as a suicide. And they do that over and over and over again because they reduce the murder statistics, and that's why so many suicides are happening right now. So my partner and I started really going hard at it, and 2 years ago we were up in Susanville, California, and had a man charged with murder, and he pled guilty to it. We just were relentless going after him. And then about 3 years ago, there was a murder of a student from the Southern Illinois University in Illinois. And they classified it as death by hypothermia because it was cold. But the man was actually beaten up pretty severely. And he died. He succumbed to the blows of a baseball bat, and he never woke up. Ultimately, we caused such a scene, my partner and I, and we turned around and we went to, we filed all these YouTube complaints. We made videos and complaining about how the state attorney was so unethical and pathetic. And then we worked with the family members to gain write a complaint about it. And we wrote the complaint, and the family had a big hearing in a church in a suburb of Chicago. and 1,000 people showed up, and including 4 United States congressmen and one congresswoman, and Lou Lang, who was the Speaker of the House of Representatives in Illinois. And we called them all out. In front of all the people that were there, we said, we're giving them all a copy of our affidavit. And if they don't do anything about it, you know who not to elect. You know, we really, well, that'll be posted coming up on the internet pretty soon. So ultimately, about a year ago or a little less, they charged our suspect with the murder. And last night the jury came back guilty. He was convicted of murder. That's 2. We've got, I think, 11 pending in Florida, and we're just going from one to the other. At the same time, we work guardianship abuse, and we work child protective service cases, because so many times the government mishandles these children and they die. And then nothing happens to the people that are responsible. They make a big stink, they're going to have an investigation, and nothing happens. So I got involved in guardianship abuse. By the way, I want to thank Elaine Renoir, who was the president of NASGA, the National Association to Stop Guardian Abuse, and Kaz Wittenscape, who's the senior person on the elderly. Hold on, let me get this right. Elder
Liaison.
You're the liaison?
Yeah, I'm the liaison for Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Maryland.
Okay. And I'd like to thank Kaz for hosting this. So I got involved with the case. I've done several. I worked with Elaine in Nashville and in Tennessee in some cases. I've been in Florida and Nevada working on elder and guardianship cases. And we've been putting some of them on podcast. The family members have been speaking out, and we're getting a really good response. Well, what happens in these cases, so many times, the attorneys that represent the family member or the complaining witness that says, my uncle or my father's got to be guardianized. They do that in almost all cases because they want the money, because no attorney's going to take it without money. Okay? So all of a sudden, they file what is known as a petition, an emergency petition for guardianship. They never serve the individual that's guardianized. It goes to court, the attorney comes into court and says, we want to guardianize him, here's his family member, and the family member says, yeah, he's not acting right lately. The judge says, good, we're going to guardianize him. From then on, the person has no rights, the person has no money, they take his funds and do everything. Then he has to get himself some legal representative. If he's got any money, the judge will award the payments to the attorney representing the guy from that man. So now he's paying the person that put him there, his attorney, and he's paying his attorney to defend him. And then the judge appoints a guardian, maybe another attorney or some private institution, and this guy's paying for that all of a sudden. And after a while, they turn around and they bilk the individual out of every cent that he's got and put him on Medicaid. And the only people that got it were the attorneys and these other organizations. Now, one of the cases that I'm very proud of, I did a case in Milwaukee. I was contacted by a waitress in a restaurant that I knew. I had known her for 30 years from working in different restaurants. And she said that her fiance, because they wanted to get married, was her son went to a lawyer, and I believe the lawyer's name was Attorney Shyster, and he was of the Dewey, Screwham and Howe law firm. And the son said that my father can't handle himself, so he puts this attorney, Shyster, files the papers, and they take the guy away. So Carol was her name, and Carol called and said to me, Ira, I don't know how to get my boyfriend now. We've been going 16 years, and now he's incarcerated in an institution here in the Rogers Memorial Hospital, which is a money-making deal in Milwaukee. And she says, I don't know what to do. So I recommend an attorney friend of mine, and she gets the attorney, and they turn around and they can't figure out what to do. And I said, why don't you file a writ of habeas corpus? Now I got the exact definition here that you'll see what a writ of habeas corpus is. A writ of habeas corpus is used to bring a prisoner or other detainee, and could be an institutionalized mental patient or guardianship case, before the court to determine if the person's imprisonment or detention is lawful. Now, when you incarcerate somebody in an institution, you know, you're taking his freedom and taking all his money. In the first time anybody had ever heard of doing something like this, they turned around, the attorney filed a writ of habeas corpus to get this guy in front of a judge, and we were awarded that he was detoxed because they put these people under so much drugs that they go to court and they go, they can't even speak. And so we got him detoxed. He goes to court on Tuesday. They let him out pending a hearing to determine what they're going to do on Friday. So on Friday, we go to court, and the woman introduces herself. She gets up there, she's getting ready to testify, and she says that her name, and she gives the man's name as her last name. So Attorney Shyster raised the big stink. They're not married, how could she say that? And she says, when we got out of court last Tuesday, Ira flew us to Las Vegas. He got had our birth certificate and everything. He got us married. He was the best man, the ring bearer, and the photographer, and we are married. I blew that thing out of the water. They couldn't figure out how to do it, and they gave her the guardianship, let her handle it, the guy, and that was the way to go. Now, they had wanted to get married and had talked about it for years, but they never did, so now the opportunity was there. And it started started me thinking that all these people in the country complaining and saying that my family member's guardianized and I don't know what to do. Now, first of all, if you get sued in a small claims action, might have happened to someone here where a medical bill isn't paid and they decide to sue you, you get a copy of this paper, you're entitled to answer it or go to court and defend yourself. If you get sued in a large claim court case, you're entitled to a copy of the lawsuit and you're entitled to defend yourself. In a criminal charge, you're entitled to a copy of the charges against you and you're entitled to defend yourself. In a guardianship case, these attorneys, and they're all last name Shyster, they file these papers and they don't give the person a copy. They don't give this poor guy a copy. He has no way of knowing it, and all of a sudden they take him away. He's been guardianized. He wasn't in court, didn't have representation, so what happened is I'm thinking to myself, why don't these attorneys that are defending people use the habeas corpus to defend these people? Get them in front of the judge and have the judge make up his mind. You can't have a judge guardianizing somebody because a son said that my dad's drooling a little bit, and they turn around and they guardianize the guy. Then I'm thinking, if people raised a big enough stink, if they turned around and went after these attorneys that are filing these papers without serving, and the judges that are handling it, and particularly the attorneys that are there to defend these individuals, and don't file a habeas corpus, they're ineffective. They're not doing the job properly, and all they're doing is running the clock. Attorney Shyster, he comes out there and he's running the bill. The defense attorney, who could clear this up in relatively short time, who all he's got to do is say, we want this taken care of with a habeas corpus, doesn't. And the attorney that's representing the poor guy that's stuck is now they're all billing. And some of these attorneys that represent these people are awarded these cases by the court, and they might have 50 or 60 cases going with guardianship, and they're billing them all. And I think that somebody's got to go to the prosecutors and say, hey, we want this man investigated for double billing and cheating and fraud. File even a John Doe. I know a little bit about John Doe's. I'm the prevailing case law. I've filed more in the state of Wisconsin than anybody ever else has. And file a John Doe against it, and find out against the court. Find out what the heck the court is doing. And why are these people being treated that way when they've got all these attorneys and everybody that are officers of the court and are supposed to be ethical and honest. And what they're doing is they're lining their own pockets with some poor guy's money that worked all his life and the family wants. So I started doing that and putting that together, and I realized, and anybody that's been in the guardianship cases, nobody can say to anybody, I know this case where they ran a habeas corpus, I know this case where they did it. Nobody does it. And it wouldn't have happened if I wouldn't have told the attorney that. And I think it's an absolute shame. And the attorneys that represent the people and the family members, they don't give them the right information. It's, I'll file a paper, you'll file back, we'll file back and forth, we'll go to court, keep that bill running, get the meter going, and pretty soon they're having a great old time on this poor guy. And I think that it's criminal. I think there's ways to be able to prove that the accounts have been overbilled and built. And I think that these people, and not all of them, but in a good amount of these cases, these attorneys should be, penalized, and the guardianized individual released. If a person could have somebody come into their house every couple of days and make sure they're okay and make sure they're eating, they don't have to be in a locked ward in some kind of institution that's making money off the poor guy, poor family members. And I can't tell you how many people have never used that and never thought of it. And there's 5 great writs in this country, and habeas corpus is one of them. And every attorney knows. They go to school. They know this, and they file these papers. You got to release our guy. Put a habeas corpus in there. Force the judge to get off his dead butt and do something. And that's what I do. And I force the issue. And I've met so many nice people along the way. A lot of them are so burned out, and a lot of them have been so set upon by the system and so mistreated that it's just hideous. The things that I've seen and how people have been mistreated, it bleed inside for them. And so that's what I do, and my partner and I do that. And like I say, if nobody's mad at you, then you really haven't done anything good. So that's the way, the kind of activities that my partner and I do. We go after cases that nobody else wants, and now we see how many people are afraid of the system. And these attorneys don't want to tick off the judge and make too much of a battle, because the judge won't rule them in their favor next time. You see, when you go to a guardianized situation and you go to court, the judge assigns a guardian. Now, a lot of times it's the attorney from, maybe Attorney Shyster that'll recommend somebody. We've got this thing lined up, or the judge will say, we've got to have this place has got to be put, or we've got to have this person in charge of the guardian and his money and his health care and everything. And they turn around and these attorneys are afraid they'll lose the opportunity to have that if they tick off the judge. So the poor guy suffers because the attorney wants to make money and doesn't want to lose those kind of cases. It happens over and over and over again. And it's sad, you've got to be creative, and then you've got to have your family members going, if your attorney that's representing the person that's being in there, being incarcerated or being hospitalized, that attorney should be filing a complaint with the district attorney requesting the billing statements be looked at. All he's got to do is look at the billing statements, but the judges refuse to give that. saying it's a medical situation, you can't see them. It's all cover up. It's all lies in there. And these poor people at the end of this time, they die and they spent all their life in an institution and all their money was taken away, and then after they go on Medicaid, they put them in some dump. So that's what happens. So, does anybody have any questions? Yes, ma'am, that lady over there.
I was wondering if you were to recommend, like, if somebody gets to the point where they're starting to not be able to take care of themselves, what would you recommend other than guardianship? What would be a better way to?
Well, there's, depending, the people that are guardianized most of the time have a lot of money. So, get somebody to come in there and take care of the person, let them live at home, let him handle his and be part of his own decisions, whether he wants to make his health care decisions or his financial decisions, and have somebody come in there every couple of days and check it out, or every day. There's a lot of organizations that do that, home health care, but you don't want this guy put in the custody, this man or woman put in the custody of somebody that's just doing it to make money, that runs an organization to do that. And you don't want him to be in the custody of an attorney, because most of the time he won't even show up at the house. And all he'll do is turn around and keep billing, saying I did this and I did that. So you've got to keep meticulous records to go after these attorneys. You got to say on this date, and if you're going to communicate with the attorney, send it in writing. Make sure that the attorney gets it either by email, that you've got a copy, or in a letter that you've got a copy, because then the attorney can't argue with what you sent them. And then what'll happen if they're trying to hide, if you send 5 or 6 different things that you're concerned about, they'll only answer 3 or 4. Well, the ones that they don't answer are the ones that they're concerned about, because they know you got them. So, but you just, people are human beings. They don't deserve to be treated in our system like that. I'm so happy that there's so many people now that are out there that are working towards guardianship relief and helping the elderly. People are living longer and longer. They spend all their lives working. Why do you want to give it to some attorney or some outfit? You want to give it to your family or to charity or the Humane Society or something, rather than these guys. All they're going to do is just laugh all the way to the bank. Yes, ma'am.
So, is everyone able to file a habeas corpus then? What are these other saying?
Well, you've got to have grounds. First of all, it seems to me that if the guy didn't get notice in the first place, and he never does, I think that's grounds. But you want to have the individual brought before the judge, detox. Tell him the order is that they can't have drugs for 2 or 3 days before. And then he goes to the judge, and he's able to talk to the judge and have family members there and say, we'll take care of them. And that's all you have to do. And a writ of habeas corpus has probably got to be done by an attorney, because unless you really, know what you're talking about, they're going to argue it and you're going to lose. But if your attorney or the individual's attorney is doing that, it seems to me that they've got a pretty darn good chance, particularly if they're not that bad. When a person gets older, they forget stuff. I forget stuff. I've been forgetting stuff since I've been a kid. That lady forgets stuff. And, I'm 76 years old. I'm still here. I've been investigating one way or the other 55 years already. And you have to be able to do it properly. So you file this habeas corpus, maybe get some affidavits from relatives and friends that know the individual that can say he's getting a little forgetful, but he's okay, and a little bit of help at home could help. So they put down 3 or 4 of these, and then watch the attorneys try to preserve their money, their cash cow, and that's what we don't want to happen. But anybody can do it. But if you don't have grounds, if the guy is still on the drugs and comes to court and is babbling on and on, if he's reasonably healthy, he should still be able to have somebody take care of him at home. He doesn't have to be incarcerated in these locked wards. Does somebody else have a question here? Yes, ma'am.
What about the individual that can't, like everybody running around him?
health is failing rapidly and probably has some progressive terminal things going on. Refuses any kind of help at all. And yet, you can determine that he's not taking very good care of himself, nor his surroundings, and perhaps not even safe kind of a way in his home. He refuses everything. He's extremely independent.
If that's the case where the man, refuses any help and he's independent, he might be sick, he might be dying. The fact is, if he knows what's going on and he can make himself a bologna sandwich and do a couple things like that, you can't take all his money, and they're not going to do it to somebody that doesn't have any money. They're going to just do it to people that have money. They're not going to do this and bilk somebody. I mean, they're going to sell the guy's house. They're going to do all kinds of stuff, and pretty soon he's got nothing. It's his.
Best just to live and let him.
Sure, if he's reasonable in there and he's sick, have him checked on every couple of days by a home health care nurse and see. But don't guardianize the guy. If he's sick in the first place, you put him in there, you're going to ruin him. Yes, ma'am.
I served as a guardian advisor a number of years ago, and my duty was to make a recommendation for the least restrictive environment for the person. And some of these people had no family, but they had houses. And I would come, and I would have to make visits. But the court couldn't afford to have me make regular visits. I made the visits, I made the decision that I had sent to the court. Okay, so the court was well aware of who made what kind of recommendations. Now, it was Rock County, it wasn't Milwaukee County, so the judges didn't have that many. They know who the crooks are.
Sure.
So you have to have a judge who is complicit.
Well, there's no doubt about it. It's happening all over.
Well, yeah, and that's why you have to go above. You've got to get by documentation. That means you can't be Joe Blow doing this. Nobody has the time. And when I was practicing law, it was hard even to find home health care people. So I could make that recommendation, but they might end up institutionalized anyway because there's not enough money for social services, which are real naughty now.
Well, should the person have a little say in it himself or herself?
Not if I say they are not capable. I make that recommendation to the judge. But my duty under the law was to make a recommendation for the least restrictive environment for that person.
Can't complain about that?
That's Wisconsin law.
Yeah, but it's not happening.
Because there's no support for it.
One attorney in Milwaukee bilked a guy out of $1 million, and the judge, this is terrible, it shouldn't happen again, and did nothing to the guy. They played games back and forth. I remember years ago, there was a case in, it came out of Waukesha County in Butler, Wisconsin, where two attorneys were fighting. Brother or a family member was mentally ill and very sick. So the family members started arguing about the estate. So it went back and forth in court, and they wrote one thing after the other back and forth. And in a year's time, out of $480,000, they only was like $15,000 left. The attorneys got it all. Now the proper way, I think, would be to say, hey, family members, you're going to lose it all. Let's do this the right thing. Pay me a couple bucks, let's see if we get this straightened out. But they don't. I was in court and I heard some attorneys talking about it in the cafeteria. And they said, those attorneys should be charged with malpractice. And I said, absolutely. And they said, they should have gotten it all.
Thank you for doing that.
That's what they actually said. Yes, ma'am.
Are attorneys that specialize in elder law who probably have a special affinity for those people? Are they related to the attorney shysters?
They could be. I mean, they do all kinds of stuff. These judges know what's going on, and they appoint the same ones. They're senior, they're older attorneys. They appoint them over and over again on these guardianship cases, and they don't. Nobody reviews it. The attorney puts in his bill. The judge says, okay. you know, and then the other side puts in their bill, the judge says, okay. And then in some states, they have regular organizations that handle the person, and they make tons of money. Or they have another attorney or somebody handling it, and they get their bill paid for. And it goes round and round and round, and it's terrible.
So it sounds like that the average Joe really has no choice, no way of knowing the proper person.
You want an accounting of where the money went, first of all, and if you
How to
can't,
choose in the first place.
how to what?
How to choose an attorney in the first place.
To defend the case?
You go to the phone book and pick out a name.
That's generally what happens, but you've got to check with other members of NASGA and other members of ERN to make sure that we can get the right ones. We've got to start supporting attorneys that are going to help the poor guardianized person, and we've got to put notes on there and say, this is what to do. We've got to go, and this information that I'm talking about the habeas corpus, we've got to get everybody in the country to realize that this works. It worked for us, and how they can go to, anybody can go to Las Vegas. I would have gone to Las Vegas and never come back. You know, thank you very much, I like it here. And the family, they were sharp enough, and as soon as I said that to the attorney, he filed a habeas corpus, because the guy was confined to a hospital under court order. And particularly when he or she doesn't get a copy of what they filed with the court, and they guardianize him, and he doesn't know about it, he's entitled to have a representative look and see what happens. If he's not that bad, that's fraud by the attorney that filed the complaint against him. That attorney, whether it's gone on over and over again, custom and usage is not permitted to allow anybody to keep speeding in the neighborhood, or to say everybody else does it, it's okay with me. If these attorneys are bilking that money and doing something wrong, they can be taken to task by the court. And if the judge won't do it, you file complaints with the Judicial Commission, file complaints with the state. Yes, ma'am.
The state, I think it's the Board of Attorneys' Professional Responsibility. I recommended to some friends of mine that they do that for the divorce case. And that was enough to make the attorneys involved.
Right.
But it was a single case. If you could show a pattern, that would be easy.
Well, it's been changed. It's called the Office of Lawyer Regulation now. But they are just, they're buddy-buddy with all these attorneys, and that's why with these videos that we're making now, and with the information that we post on ERN and NASGA and other sources like this, that people are going to start to become aware of it, and when they are, if somebody files a complaint, get 3 or 4 or 5 other people to complain about it. Contact the media. If you have a good enough case, get them to call the Office of Lawyer Regulation and say, hey, excuse me, could you tell me what's going on here? As soon as they start hearing the media and other people like that, and now one of the other things, we are the media. When you have websites and you have stuff like that, you could have appoint an investigative reporter from NASGA and ERN and any of these places to contact these people and do an investigation. And you don't need credentials, you don't have to have a list. Yeah, I work for this organization, I'm their investigative reporter. What are you doing about this? I mean, you have to be really creative about it and give it a try. Yes, ma'am?
I was just going to say that another place to make a complaint, especially with guardianship, and if it's in a center, an attorney, is the Better Business Bureau, because
Right.
they will look at that. And there's also the Coalition of Wisconsin Aging Group, which is, I actually work for them, and so they provide services of crime victims. So if somebody is being bilked, to use your words exactly, by a guardian, and there are things that are not followed directly,
Right.
we are able to assist and get papers filed and go that way.
But if you file the papers and they don't want to do anything,
Well, that's
now you have a
the issue.
reporter from your group contact and say, I do the investigative reporting for this organization. Could you tell me what's going on and what action you're going to take? Now, you're going to start seeing these people choke, and all of a sudden things will change. And that's how you work the deal. That's how you work the system. Get other people to join you and jam it to them. Yes, ma'am.
Another resource is the UW, and I forget the exact name, it's the Institute for Judicial Justice. It's IJ something or other. And
Is that part of the Innocent Project?
they don't, I talked to the women there because I practice law with them.
Mm-hmm.
And they said it's not been brought to our attention as a major issue in Wisconsin. So they're handling other issues where people are victimized. But if there were enough cases brought to their
Right.
attention, you would get the UW on.
Yeah. Well, Finley and Keith Finley and those guys, they run it, it's all political. You know, and if the government says shut up and get off this case, they will, because they don't want to lose the funding. Yes, ma'am.
One of the cases that had brought me here today, because I'm really interested, is a family that's very poor. It's a married couple, no children, limited support except that they're strong in the neighborhood. But they were told that this was going to happen in their family, and it was a done deal. And fortunately, the woman had the strength and courage to say, "What do you mean? I never agreed to this." And so then it backed off, and they did not institutionalize the partner who was in mental health. But the problem is that they don't have money to fund.
And I don't know why they're doing it unless they're getting some state or federal funds, because these attorneys that are doing this, they're not doing it for
I
free.
think it came out of the hospital where there were
But yeah.
bills, and another family member who owns the house they live in. So there was some, attempts to change their situation, but it was
Well, if
really
they-
horrible. It was really going to lead right into this kind of situation that they're working with.
Well, if there's state or federal funds that are paying for them, you're gonna find out some neighbor or buddy is gonna come in there and help because they're gonna get paid for it. And that's what happens all the time. You know, these people, they only wanna do this stuff. Nobody's doing it to be a goodie. You know, these attorneys that are putting people in these incarcerated situations, that they're not doing it to be nice. They're doing it because if they wanted to be nice, they'd file the papers properly and let that person get an answer in. They wouldn't do it the way they're doing it. And they're doing it strictly because they can make a buck out of it, and they make a lot of money. We're not talking about a couple bucks. Over the period of years, it's not uncommon for attorneys to get $500,000 or $1 million. Then they hire some friend to say, "Well, we got an offer to buy the house." Okay, so they sell the house for $100,000. Well, the house is worth $500,000. Then they turn around and they sell it to a buddy of theirs for $500,000, or less, and they get part of it. That's how this stuff is being done, and you just have to keep your eyes open. And if it doesn't look right and it doesn't pass the smell test, start asking questions and find out about it. So we all are entitled to do the right thing and to have the proper treatment from the government. And if we don't have that, and these courts are cheating people, let's point these people. If you're stealing something and you're going to incarcerate somebody for doing it, go to jail yourself, Judge, and see how you like it. So, and I've seen so many things. I've worked for so many attorneys. I've seen so many people. An attorney said to me, "How much are you gonna charge this guy?" And I said, "Well, I'll do it for $500. And he says, "I want you to do it for $3,000. So, okay, so I did it. Then I got paid the $3,000, and the attorney calls me. I meet him for lunch, and he says, "Okay, now I want my cut."
Rosies?
No, that was a different coffee shop. It was someplace that sold alcohol. And this animal says to me, he says, "I want my half. I get $1,500. I says, "No problem. I'm not going to give you anything." And the guy got mad and started yelling at me, and so I left. And then I called up his secretary, and I says, "You tell," and I won't give you his name, but his initials are Al Bacall. "You tell Attorney Al Bacall that if he wants to make a stink of this, I'll play the recording that I made of him trying to extort money from me and a client." Well, Al Bacall retired right after. So now, and it's another thing that you have to understand. In Wisconsin, we have one-party consent. So you can have a tape recorder in your pocket and talk to these attorneys, or you can tape record a telephone call without having to beep and tell them about it. But you can't do it to another state. So if you're calling somebody an attorney from Wisconsin and he's on vacation in Hawaii, you can't do that. You gotta wait for him to come back here. But you can do it on the phone and you can do it in person. You can't leave a tape recorder in a room and walk away and listen for anybody to make statements. You have to be there and be a part of the conversation and have a tape recorder on. But when you go into the attorney's office, tape record them. You don't have to tell them. I had one. I had a case in Sheboygan where I was tape recording an officer, a smart guy, and I had the tape recorder right in my hand, holding up my clipboard. And he said, "You tape recording that?" I said, "Absolutely." He said, "Give me that tape recorder." I said, "You gonna do something you don't want to be have on tape, officer?" So I took my tape recorder away. So then I got a meeting with the chief of police. I walked in there, I took my tape recorder out, and I set it on top of my briefcase on his desk, and I says, "Now let's talk." And I told him about everything that happened, and he went on and on. Well, if you were smart, he'd have checked in my briefcase for the second tape recorder. You really have to be creative and pull the stops out. I'm the kind of guy that I'm thinking tonight about a case. Oh, here's what we can do this. Ask questions. In my particular case, it's hard for people to give me the answers because I'm way ahead of most of them on this stuff. But there's always something you can find out. So, yes, ma'am.
The whole thing sounds really scary and overwhelming, and it seems to me that the answer is for every older person to have a strong, knowledgeable advocate.
Absolutely. But that's what EARN and NASGA and the other organizations should be pumping. Maybe they get some advocates that work at a minimum rate, or instead of building $150 or $200 an hour to check on a person, so they get $20 or $25 an hour, and they do that. They do whatever they have to, and the person, if he's got enough money, the interest will make that back for the guy. But that's what the organizations have to start pushing. They have to be very creative, and if there's a problem that we're talking about, we come out with a way to straighten it out. I mean, there's a lot of brain power here. When we leave here today, you guys are going to be thinking about a whole bunch of stuff. You're going to say, "My God, I never thought of this, never thought of that." And if you talk to each other, it'll be kind of surprising.
Do you have a handout?
No, I've got some business cards. I've got a telephone.
It would be nice to take away some information about this organization on your part.
That I'm in? I've got a business card. We're on the internet here. Let me just open this up here. This is our Archangel of Justice. So I'll just put some down here. Grab them when you leave. And then here's some of my card. And on the back are some of the television shows.
What's the organization that starts with the letter N? National
Association to Stop Guardian Abuse.
to Stop Guardian.
NASGA. And they're all great people. Kaz is great. I just met her just now, but with the things that she's doing, unless you're really, really motivated, you don't get involved in this stuff. Yes, ma'am.
And they have a Facebook page as well.
Yeah. And on NASGA, they have tons of cases and things. And on our podcast, we interviewed people that have had trouble with guardian abuse and stuff, and we make our long podcasts so that people can call and can listen to them. It's like a radio show on a podcast, and they can find out how to straighten things out and how to correct stuff. So that's what we do. But I've got anybody who wants to call me, call me. I charge nothing. My attorney says I lose money on every case. I say I'll do more cases. So, but that's what we do. And Kaz has some stuff here, I guess. But we, everybody here is concerned in some way or the other, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate everybody coming down and listening to me and asking questions, because it's so important. And who knows? In my particular case, nobody will ever try to guardianize me, because I don't have a time. So, yes, ma'am.
Can you ask for a substitute judge if you don't like the answer of the person?
You don't have a choice, because once you guardianize, that's the judge.
So
And you can't ask for it. You've got to get an attorney to come in there and file against him. You file an action, a bias or something against the attorney against the judge that handled this case, and then it can be changed. Yes, sir.
I'm so sorry, I'm a little bit late. Can you define, again, maybe you've done it, what guardianized means?
Well, they take everybody's rights away. You go.
Who's the they?
The government, the family member gets an attorney, and he says, my uncle is drooling or comes up with some reason. He might be a good valid reason, might not. So the attorney says, okay, we're going to get guardianize him. We'll take control of everything, of his body, of his health, and all his money. So now the family member's attorney goes and files an emergency petition for guardianship. And he doesn't serve the other side, so now the guy is guardianized. Once he's guardianized, he can't sign a contract, he can't hire an attorney, he can't get into his bank accounts. And then they turn around and they, from there, they change the guy's address, wherever they put him, to the attorney's address. So if the paperwork comes in and somebody's sending him something, the attorney gets it. Now the guy's got no control over anything. He can't hire anybody. He can't hire anybody for health care. The attorneys and the guardianized people, they do it. And they take the person's complete rights away, put him into an institution, put him in a house, lock him in there. He's stuck. It's terrible.
So they don't have to prove inheritance.
No, all they got to do is prove the relative is going to sign an affidavit saying my uncle was just as incompetent, and that's all they care about. The judge doesn't ask the guy. The judge doesn't even see the guy. There's a chance on it that the judge will never see the person that's guardianized. They'll just see the bills. Yes, ma'am.
Now, in Pennsylvania, my situation is in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, right outside of Philadelphia. Adult Protective Services is also filing petitions to guardianize. So it's not even family members. And in our situation, Univest Bank. And that's why I have 3 attorneys.
Yeah, but file criminal actions. In other states, you can get you can create your own grand jury. You can do that in Wisconsin. You have to pay for it yourself. We have the John Doe petition. File it and then publicize it. It's not. It's supposed to be confidential and be quiet, but it's not until they issue the John Doe. So you just you write the thing and submit it to everybody. Let everybody look at it. So, there's all kinds of tricks that we can do to back because you just have to know what you're doing. And anybody's welcome to call me at any time.
What happens to the person that tried to get guardianship if the victim so-called prevails in holding, and what happens to the
Nothing.
person?
Might have to pay back the money. Maybe you have to pay back the money. See, I think as soon as they have to start paying back some of the money, they're going to stop doing this. So it's a numbers game. They only want the money. And if they realize that they've done something wrong, every person that's guardianized in this state has never been served with the papers. Not one of them. The attorneys go to court, the judge says, okay, guardianized. Period. Yes, ma'am. This lady right here in front.
Do you think that the judges somehow getting a kickback?
Yes, they're all.
And how is that? Is it campaign contributions or is there
Could
other
be
stuff?
their friends. Could be something there. These judges aren't doing it to give it to their buddies over and over again to be nice people.
Yeah.
So-
I'm just trying to figure the money trail on
Yeah.
the judge.
Well, it makes it, and the problem is you can't even suggest that because if you do, you lost all your credibility. If you can prove it, then you suggest it. So, but what happens is when you write these letters to these people, to these judges and these attorneys, and they file answers and you can prove that they're lying, now you go to the Office of Lawyer Regulation and say they lied to me. I mean, you have to put them and word stuff in such a way that you trap them. Can be done. The arrogance of being an attorney in a lot of cases like this is just, it overwhelms them. You can't question me. Oh yeah. Guess what? And if you have to, get some neighbors, even 2 people, stand in front of the lawyer's office with signs. You'll be surprised at how fast the news will come by. Particularly if you call them and saying, we're going to be out there demonstrating at 2 o'clock. And, there's all kinds of things you can do like that. But you have to be real creative. So how about, I take a break now? And I thank everybody for listening. The questions have been great. And don't hesitate to call me, please. Okay? Thank you very much. And thank you, ma'am.
And I see giveaways. So Elaine sent me a package, and this is The Unforgivable Truth. It's a documentary that just came out, and you can see it free on YouTube, but I also have free DVDs. Does anyone like one? Anyone else? Yes. And my uncle is in, he's just in a picture. Yeah. He's there. So we got involved with, I'll just real quick tell, we got involved with NASGA. I've been going through this for 9 years of my life, and we were getting ready to go back to court, and we just kind of like, there was just something wrong. And we just on Google searches found NASGA, and we had the Guardian's playbook before we went into court. I'm just going to give the really quick version, but there was more attorneys billing my uncle and his $7 million than the O.J. Simpson trial. It was an 8-hour trial. The bank was behind it, and we had the playbook, so they were trying to change the dates and everything. In the end, of course, we did not prevail. Harvey was a Korean War vet. They got him, and they isolated him. I always think we got him free the last 10 days, and I think the freedom of the press is like the greatest thing that we have left in this country to fight this corruption. I am still in litigation. I have been threatened libel lawsuits. I mean, it's unreal. But I have an attorney here from Madison, Wisconsin that heard about this stuff because of Rosies, and he's also a UW professor, so the UW students have been working the case for the last almost 3 years now. And I also have I have 2 attorneys in Pennsylvania, and so hopefully we're gonna hear more about what's going on. It's been bullied, and the scary thing is some of the people that I've met that are still living in Pennsylvania, there's 2 people, mysterious deaths. So it's some very serious stuff. My attorney thinks it's like mafia behind it. There's like Church of Scientology. It sounds like crazy stuff.
Oh, I was involved in a case against them, and they're nuts. They followed me all around the place, and I was working for them at that time. And ultimately, they lost $7 million to a guy named Lawrence Wollersheim, who claimed they bent his mind, and he went cuckoo after that. And then as soon as he got the money, he wasn't cuckoo anymore. But they are some nasty people. They follow you, and these people that were sent to follow me, I caught them. I brought them down the wrong way to a cul-de-sac, and they followed me in there, and I got them. And they said, we have to follow you because until we get back, we won't have any food. They were splitting a banana, and I said, come on, I'll take that to dinner. And I said, get out of this cult crap, But you just can't be afraid. One of the things about me, and people understand this is my calling. If they do something to me and I get killed or something, I know what I'm doing. I'm not a novice guy, but I've never. They used to threaten me when I did the Lori Bambetta case, and as soon as they did, I'd be down in the police station in the morning at headquarters, greeting everybody when they came in the morning, and then ultimately they went away and they called me to help them when they had trouble. So, it's one of those things you just have to stand up for yourself and not be afraid, because you have nothing to fear. They're not, 99 and a zillion percent, they're not going to do anything. And if you name them and you write everything about it, plus, if you've got these organizations and you put in your own newspaper or your own, investigative reporting, that's journalism. You can't, freedom of the press, you can do whatever you want in there. It's awesome. Use that on your behalf, and just title it investigative reports from EARN or from NASDA or whatever, and can't do anything. But do it respectfully though. Do it. Don't make rotten remarks, and don't use profanity and that stuff. Yes, ma'am.
Costin mentioned that there was a nurse involved. Who was the nurse who did the drug incarceration?
My uncle?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
people that. That
Oh.
nurse showed up over and over again. Same thing, banks show up over and over again. And if they can be identified, say, so-and-so was incarcerated, this is the bank, and the more that the stone is lifted and the sunlight comes, they're gonna have to back off.
Well, you know, one of the things that's really good, if you push these people, if you've got somebody that's doing it over and over again, and you publicize it, it puts them in a position that they don't want the light on. You know, it's like when you turn the light on, the cockroaches all run away. And you get the same attorneys over and over that use the same place. So what will happen is, if you say, God, I want to guardianize my mom, you know, she's, so you're going to find somebody that's going to say, well, get Attorney Jones here. He knows really how to handle this. He's done so many of these. Well, guess what? There goes your inheritance. So, and you know, you just have to be careful. And then you have to start researching. You have to, a lot of courthouses keep statistics on what attorneys are involved in what guardianship cases. You know, and go down to probate cases and find out what attorneys are doing that. And then check the records and find out where they went to law school and where the judge went to law school. Or the other sides, find out where the other side went to law school. I was in Phoenix, and a woman was seriously injured, and they were suing for $2 million. And the attorney that she had agreed to go for $350,000. And she was really injured. All that money would have gone for the medicals. And so I went down to the courthouse, and I looked up the blue books, and I found out that her attorney was the son of the senior partner of the law firm from the other side. So I said, excuse me, and within 48 hours they settled for $3 million. I had them so dirty. See, you're just researching and trying to use, you know, your common sense. There's references. You can find out where the judge went to school. You can find out where he lives, who his relatives are, if he's got other attorneys that are relatives. It's real. It's, you know, it's legwork, but that's what investigators do.
We forced our judge to resign. We now have the documents of 200 families, and we will be accusing them of mass murder because of the over-medication of a drug called Halidol. And so I think it's like the perfect crime, like an old man died. He was murdered. And so we have about 3,000 pages of documents. I was able to nab medical records during everything. I don't think they realized what they were dealing with when they came up against myself and my sister. And we had a whole bunch of help, the employees of Home Instead. And that's like local, on the side note, Senior Helpers, Home Instead. Those have been great resources that we've used for my family. And in this case, they are like some of my best friends now, the people that we like have been battling on this story with.
I love it when you say accused as a judge of mass murder. I mean,
are you ready to hear what, hopefully this will be the big news in Wisconsin someday. So our attorney and UW students, it's never been done in the history of the United States. So there's a charge called racketeering.
Yeah,
You say that they're
RICO.
racketeering. And that's a felony. And if while you commit a felony, someone dies, that's considered felony murder. And they want to charge the judge with felony murder to send a message to the rest of the country. And that is all being researched here in Madison right now with my free attorney.
in a racketeering case, you need generally a couple of defendants, but if you go after a half a dozen attorneys and the judge, and you can combine that, there's civil racketeering where you can sue them and get all their money, and there's criminal racketeering where they can go to prison. And it's both state and federal on both of those, so you can go either way.
And the bank is involved, and we have the documents of that, and we did find one other family that the bank did the same thing to, and we are two non-related, you know, and the amount of people that I've met through all this, it's been life-changing. And there's some, like, that's like the happy thing.
Yeah.
Like Elaine is amazing. I probably message and talk with her like almost daily, and just made a lot of really good friends just from all this because we've gone
Well, this
through
is
like
our
the same
new
thing.
friendship.
I know.
Everybody a nice new
We've been
friendship.
Facebook friends for several years, and then Elaine told you had to come up for Carrot Cake.
Yeah.
You better make sure.
Well,
you
I know so many people. I've been blessed with knowing so many people, and I've helped so many people. I've gotten a lot of exonerations where people have been freed. You know, I defended people over the years in the worst situations, street gangs, the old Ruckin in Chicago, the Crips in Los Angeles, mafia people. Years ago in the 80s, John and Joe Balistreri in Milwaukee were charged with secretly owning the Stardust and Fremont hotels. And they were charged with 15 defendants. They had a 6-month trial in Kansas City. John and Joe sent me to Las Vegas. They were the only 2 out of 15 that were acquitted. And the attorneys kept all the money for themselves, the other attorneys, and never hired investigators. And then I was the national investigator for the Outlaws Motorcycle Club. I did all of their defense work. People are entitled to have a defense and have somebody that really cares. And when you're out of money, you're out of attorney.
Yep.
So it's terrible.
Someone told me many years ago, who was involved in a lawsuit, you have to learn to be a lawyer to check up on your lawyer.
Absolutely. And if it doesn't make sense to you, you gotta ask somebody, and you can't ask another attorney most of the time. But call up the law schools. Say, excuse me, do you have somebody on ethics I can talk to? You say, I've got this problem, I've got that problem. You don't have to give the names, you don't have to talk all about the case. But just say, you know, and don't argue with them. I mean, so many of these people say, well, this is what I've got. And the attorney will tell you, this is what you have to do. Well, we tried that already. Goodbye. You know, you get that a lot where people decide they know more than you do, but they're calling you to find out what they're doing. So, but it's always ask for some help. Never be afraid. There's always a resource someplace. And the law schools are really good for that.
I would say also if you do have like a guardianship issue and you want to like start like bringing it out to light, because I've met so many people and sometimes they just have a story and it's a lot of trauma and story and emotion. You gotta have the documents or no one can help you. So you've got it. It's like before I opened Rosies, it was a full-time job, just like dealing with this. Prior why I had to open it, I needed to not think that everything was terrible in the world because it was pretty rough. But it was a 40-hour job. I know how to internet stalk and like I found the judge at Ringdone. I found his eBay store. You know, little ways where I think he was like getting paid, just trying to find documents and just get.
See, that should go to the feds.
It already has. We have so this is interesting. People are like, oh, I went to the FBI. When you go to the FBI, so we have our own email address, and then back in the day when we send documents, we had to do it on a jump drive. So I was down at Staples downloading stuff on all like thousands of pages on jump drives, mailing them all around the country. And we had an FBI, like a P.O. box that we had to mail it to. And then we have this email address, and when we find documents, we call it the Great Abyss. We just put it in there. The minute that it will bounce back, that means your case is closed. So we just email it.
See, one of the things people don't understand is when I write an affidavit, for example, I make it in numbers. Number one, seeking basically a criminal charge against this individual. Number two, it's happened within the last couple of years, so it still is within the statute of limitations. Number three, it's in the jurisdiction of the court because it happened here. Number four, here are the defendants, here's my name and my expertise. Then you make your allegations in sections. On this and this happened. And then you say Exhibit A. And you take an exhibit and you put it down to verify what you just said. And you go down the list. If you got 20 or if you got 500. Every one of these things you do, you put an affidavit or a document with it so that they can see that you're not making it up. And that's what we do. I can send anybody copies of affidavits that we put together to make it easy to show you how. And that's how you file a John Doe, or if you want to go to the district attorney and file a complaint, you file it. But you don't want to make it so busy and so big that it takes nobody's going to read it. I did it on the Michael Bell case. I worked on it, and I put on a reasonable affidavit, and Michael Bell's father put down a case that got this private investigator that put down 1,100 pages of gobbledygook with so many documents. Nobody read it. You know, Michael Bell was able, he thought it was a wonderful thing, but he was able to get the law changed. You know, I was there when the governor signed the bill, so it makes, when police commit a murder, it's got to be investigated by somebody outside the jurisdiction, and we were instrumental in getting that changed. And just little bit by little bit, but the more people that we have like us, the more people we could sit and have meetings like this and talk to, the more support we get, the more good things happen, because numbers are what they're afraid of. No judge wants to have an organization with 100 or 200 people in there making statements that he's useless or he's doing something wrong or that you're questioning him, because then he's not going to be a judge anymore. So, you know, you have to turn around and verify whatever you're saying, and that's what makes the difference. So, well, I thank everybody so much for listening. I hope we were a little informative today. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
there's some cards over here if you need them. So, get to it.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Does anyone else need a DVD? Did you get the Okay. You have the DVD.
Thank you.
It's the big mouth. Were you ever part of like Elderly Services Network
beautiful.
or?
Well,
I'm so glad to be able to
we took on did all the issues.
I don't.
Can you hand maybe to Kelly? Because Darla wanted to have on film.
Oh, yeah. So this was
Because we have people from elderly services and who come to talk.
Thank you.
They do.
Yes, ma'am. I found out she could have been on there.